There is something that so many of us are dealing with. Something that we're dealing with and dealing with in secret. Today, I want to inspire you to break the silence. Today, we're going to talk about something real. Something that affects so many of us, myself included. Stay tuned to find out what that something is. Hello, Self-Love Tribe. As I said, today we're going to talk about something real. Something that so many of us are dealing with in secret. And that something is depression. I have lived with depression for over 15 years. I mean, I didn't even know what it was when I was in my teenage years. I had no idea why I was feeling the way I was feeling. I had no idea why I was spinning out of control. I mean, back in those days, depression and anxiety, these kind of things were never talked about, were rarely diagnosed. I grew up as a teenager, battling these emotions, swaying from extremely happy to I want to kill myself sad. I mean, that's how extreme it was. And when I was finally properly diagnosed I think it was when I was around 20, it was like this sigh of relief, like, oh, finally, there's a name to this, there's a reason. But then I was just put on a slew of prescriptions, all of which had their own set of side effects. Now, I'm not going to say publicly that I am completely against prescriptions. I think prescriptions have their place. But I also feel that there are other ways to deal with depression, and that's what I want to talk about today. I have been prescription-free since December 2013, and I couldn't be happier about that. That doesn't mean that I don't have bad days. That doesn't mean that I don't have shitty days. That doesn't mean that I don't have episodes of depression. I still have those days where I wake up and I don't want to get out of bed. I still have those days where I wake up and I wake up crying and I don't know why I'm crying, and then I proceed to cry the entire day. I still have those days where I wake up and I wonder what would happen if I were just to cease to exist. I still have those days. I'm not gonna sit here and record a video and tell you that I have healed my depression. Depression is a mental illness. It's something that you have. It's something that you can learn to manage. And I admit, I'm pretty sure I've learned to manage it well. Back when depression ruled my life, my norm was shitty days. My norm was feeling depressed. And on the happy days, on the days where I would have little bouts of happiness, like little minute experiences that brought me joy, it would feel so weird. It would feel hard to swallow because that didn't feel normal to me. And when something doesn't feel normal to you, it's really easy to be like, whoa, back away. And that's what I would do. I would throw away those happy days. I would throw away those feelings of joy and swap them for feeling sorry for myself, feeling sad, for feeling depressed, because that was comfortable to me. And I know there are some of you out there, a lot of you out there, who can relate to this feeling. Like, depression gets really comfortable. It gets cozy. It's something you begin to really know. There's comfort in that darkness. But now that I've been living in the light, there's comfort in the light. My new norm is happiness and joy. My new norm is positivity. So now when I have those days where my depression seems to be really strong, those days feel weird. Those days feel a little icky and off and not normal. And those are the days where I go, whoa, I don't want this. The change didn't happen overnight, and the change wasn't easy. It was about creating little shifts from creating new habits. So instead of allowing myself to stay in bed all day with a box of tissues crying my eyes out, I would make a point to get out of bed, even if it meant one leg at a time. I would literally focus on that. I would say, okay, Ruby, you're gonna put your left leg out and you're gonna touch the ground with your left leg. And I would do that. And then I would say, okay, now the right leg's gonna come out and it's gonna touch the ground. And I would do that. Okay, Ruby, now you're going to stand up, and I would do that. Now you're going to walk to the washroom and wash up and take a shower and get dressed, and I would do that. And this is how I would go about those days. I would literally talk myself through them. I would literally take it one step at a time. I began to eat healthier. I mean, I have a massive sweet tooth. But what I found was back then I was eating a lot of bad foods. I was eating a lot of processed foods, foods that really do affect your moods. I mean, everything, you have to realize that depression isn't just like this thing and one thing affects it. It's not, it doesn't work that way. Depression is this thing, and all these things around you can affect it. All of these things around you have the ability to make it worse or make it better. And what we put into our bodies, that can make it better, or that can make it worse. So I began to eat healthier. I began to eat more plant-based foods, whole foods. I started taking note of what particular foods maybe made me feel crappier than others. I started taking my sleep a little more seriously. So ensuring I would get enough rest, going to bed early. I stopped partying. I stopped doing drugs. Eventually I stopped drinking alcohol. I'm not suggesting these are all things you need to do. I'm just telling you my experience, hopefully to inspire you to create some changes to help you manage your depression a little more effectively. Other things I began to do is I began to get proactive with it. So I would go work out on those days where I didn't really feel like moving even a finger. I mean, those days exist, and for anyone who hasn't dealt with depression or hasn't even been around someone with depression, those days are real, where you wake up and you don't want to move an eyelash because everything hurts. But what I've learned is that movement is key. So I will make myself go out. I will make myself go to yoga, even if it means I'm going to be crying through Savasana. And I've done that, trust me, many, many, many times. I will pick up the phone and call a friend. I never used to do that because I always felt like a burden to people. And I still sometimes feel like that, like I'm a burden. But I've now created this habit out of calling people and reaching out for help. Because if anything, it serves as a reminder that I am supported and that I am loved and that my friends do care, my husband cares, my family cares. I will talk about my depression. Fuck what society says. We should be able to talk. The more we talk about these mental illnesses, the more we talk about what's really going on in our hearts and in our minds, the more we're gonna find out that we're all pretty damn similar. We all experience very similar things. Our experiences might be different, but all the lessons that we learn are pretty much the same. So what would happen if we all just opened up and talked about depression openly and honestly, talked about the fucked up shit that happens in our heads when we're in a depressive state? What if we talked about that? There's something magical that happens when you talk about these things that you're not supposed to talk about. Sure, you're gonna have the naysayers, the people who don't support you, the people who have a lot to say. I'm sure there'll be a lot of people who are gonna say negative things about this video. But fuck that. Because out of those handful of people that are going to think something negative about what I have to say, I know that I am inspiring other people to talk about these issues. And that to me far outweighs anything else. I want you to start being more proactive with your depression. I want you to understand that it does get better. I promise you, it does get better. You just have to put in the work. I have those days where I will literally just sit for 10 minutes in gratitude because I'm alive. I'm alive and I'm healthy and I'm well. And I was so close to not being alive. I was so close to not being alive. And yet here I am, because I've put in the work. I want you to reach out to me. I encourage you to reach out to me. Reach out by commenting below, in the comments below. Comment on this video. Share with me what you're going through. Call a friend. Let them know what you're going through. Talk to your family. Talk to your partners. Let's talk. Let's talk about depression. And let's find ways that we can manage depression together. Let's create a plan for you to get through this, to get through today, and then to get through tomorrow, and then get through the rest of the weekend, and get through this month, and the next month, and the next month. But none of that will happen if you don't talk. So let's talk. Again, I encourage you to talk to me in the comments below. Let me know what's going on. Let me know how you've been dealing with your depression. If you know anyone who's dealing with depression, if you're looking for any tips on how you can begin proactively managing your depression, reach out. I would love to hear from you. Today's video was a little longer than usual, and I'm sorry for that, but this is a topic that I'm very, very passionate about. I feel so strongly that we do not have to be a victim to our depression, that we can live with it and be healthy doing so. But I'm sending you all so much love and light. Namaste.